Chris Lee, Blake Lovell, and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14, presented by Stakes. We are here to talk about this weekend's game between Auburn and Ole Miss. We preview every game involving SEC teams all year long. You can catch this one at 12 Eastern. It's the only game in that time slot this week. You can catch it on ESPN. Ole Miss unbeaten, ranked in the top 10. I got to see the Rebels play in person this weekend in Nashville. Auburn had a very forgettable performance against Georgia. Just waiting for the inevitable with Brian Harsin to happen at this point. I thought Auburn might have one more good game left in it after some near misses, but it was not to be. Gentlemen, this is not one of the more exciting games of the weekend in my mind. Auburn still got enough talent on defense to pull a rabbit out of the hat, but I just don't like a lot of the factors for the Tigers going into this one. And Ole Miss, meanwhile, playing pretty good football.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, Auburn and Ole Miss definitely seem to be going in opposite directions, like you mentioned. And Auburn, even though it was only 14-0 in that Georgia game in the first half, that was not an indication of what Auburn was doing. Georgia is totally looked confused, inept, out of sync, whatever you want to say in that first half before waking up. But I definitely think that this Auburn team is struggling to kind of find an identity, especially with Robbie Ashford at quarterback. They kept pointing out things on the broadcast. Rick Neuheisel kept pointing out things that were a problem. So it definitely seems like two programs going in different directions, Blake.
Yeah, it does for sure. Like you said, Chris, that was an interesting game last week for Ole Miss against Vandy. It was kind of one of the, the setup was very interesting, I thought, in that one, and we talked about it. And yeah, it was just kind of wild how it played out. But I mean, the Auburn thing is, it's like every week we have this discussion, right? It's like just waiting and waiting and waiting at this point to see, all right, when are they going to make a move? Because we kind of know what's coming at this point. I feel like just having that hanging over their head. Obviously they just were outmatched against Georgia. Now you come into a game where, you got an Ole Miss team that has not lost a game. And if they've done what they've done, and we talked about their rushing attack and those kind of things. And it's just, yeah, I mean, when you're kind of comparing it, it's just even, you kind of feel like at this point, even if Auburn makes this a game, you're just like, Ole Miss probably going to find a way to win, just because that's kind of what we've seen from these two teams. Ole Miss has found ways to win games, even if it's kind of at its back against the wall sometimes. Meanwhile, even when Auburn has played well in some of these games, minus the Missouri one, which, as we said, one of the wildest games we've seen, they just seemingly find a way to not make those plays, whereas, the opponent has, and I feel like Ole Miss is definitely one of those opponents that we've seen that a lot this season.
Well, the most interesting side will be when Ole Miss has got the ball, because Auburn's shot is to be able to stop Ole Miss. I don't think Auburn's going to score on much of anybody, and Ole Miss has got a very good defense. But I was very impressed with the Rebels this weekend. Vanderbilt just said, we're going to try to stop you running the ball. So what does Jackson Dart do? He throws for a ton of yards, almost 450, averaged 14 yards a throw. Jonathan Mingo set a school record last weekend with 247 receiving yards. I think is still running free through the Vandy secondary. Ole Miss's bread and butter has been its running game with Zach Evans and Quinshon Judkins. But if there's any doubt that the Rebels are a multifaceted offensive team, I think they answered that last week. And Auburn's defense pretty good, as we've noted, but it's just having to carry so much of the load. And eventually, when your offense can't do much, the defense breaks down. I think Auburn's now given up over 40 points to both Georgia and Penn State. And so Auburn's hope for being competitive, Blayne, is sort of starting to crumble a bit too.
Yeah, and you have to think that the belief in what's going on there, in the situation surrounding Brian Harsin's got to be weighing on the team, on the players as well. And you got to give them credit for coming out and playing hard. I don't think they ever stopped playing hard, but there is a dearth of talent right now in the trenches, especially on the offensive line side for Auburn. And like you said, Ole Miss is Ole Miss is going to be able to push the ball down the field. They're going to be put numbers on the scoreboard. So how many things can go wrong in this game for Auburn before, like you said, the belief goes, they kind of fold up the tents. And here it is, another. It's not like it's a cupcake schedule here, Chris. You go with the who's now the number 1 team ranked in the nation again in Georgia, and then turn right around with another top 10 team in Ole Miss. So it's going to be an uphill battle for sure. When it comes to this one, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Blayne said, I mean, defensively, it's not like Auburn has not played well at times on that side of the ball. We've said that's kind of been the strength of them whenever they've had their chances. Again, take kind of last week aside and Georgia kind of getting right, but it's still something that I think, we've talked about a lot, Chris. It can be something that keeps them in games. It's just you don't really ever know sometimes what they're going to do offensively. But I think still when you look at, I still feel like they're probably going to be in a situation here where they can probably make some plays on the defensive side against this Ole Miss team and maybe slow them down a little bit. But at the same time, you're kind of looking at this, and I think there is something to what Blayne mentioned as well. It's like just the having that hanging over you every single week, and now you come in and play this top 10 team that we've said has been so good offensively, especially running the ball and those things, and so. I don't know. I think this is still for Auburn. The defense is still the strength of the team, but I just feel like it's another week where you just get overwhelmed maybe by an offense that can kind of do their thing and really play to their strengths as we've seen Ole Miss do. So,
well, here's some numbers for that side of the ball. Ole Miss averaging 39.6 a game, scoring. Auburn giving up 25. Ole Miss has lost 3 fumbles. Auburn has only recovered 1. Here's a stat for you. This may be the biggest stat of the game. Auburn -9 in turnover margin. So in addition to not being able to move the ball, that's quite problematic. Ole Miss has got 6 picks this year. Auburn has given up 12, or has made 12 sacks. Ole Miss has only given up 2 sacks all year. That's phenomenal. Adjusted for sacks, Ole Miss running 5.7 per run play. Auburn giving up 5.0. That's a little scary. And then Ole Miss averaging 8.8 a pass. So, yeah, just not a lot really encouraging, and it gets worse on the other side of the ball. Although Auburn plenty talented, and it can certainly make some plays, but the turnover figure there is troublesome. All right, we got some big games coming up this week to add some extra excitement. We at Southeastern 14 will be making predictions in the Stakes app. We want to see if you agree or disagree with our predictions. So go to playwithstakes.com. That is STAKES.com/14. Sign up for stakes. Place your predictions. If you're for us or against us, use the invite code Southeastern 14 when you sign up. You'll get a double welcome bonus. This is for fun. It is all free. It is free to join, free to bet, and you can win some prizes. Nothing to lose. Lots of fun to be had. Join us in the Stakes app. Boy, when Auburn's got the ball, who wants this one first? It's been ugly. I mean, Robbie Ashford has given them hope at times, like the first half of that LSU game, but just no consistency. I'm looking at the SEC rushing leaders. You would have expected to see Tank Bigsby's name at or near the top of the list. It's not. That's concerning. It's just generally concerning when Auburn's got the ball because it doesn't move it well enough and it turns it over a lot.
Well, the reason that Tank Bigsby's numbers aren't there is because they're just getting owned up front. I mean, they've had injuries. They've had to shuffle people around on the offensive line. And when you can't get you can't block. I don't care if you've got, best running back ever back there. If he's literally getting hit before he, gets to the line of scrimmage every time, then it's just tough to do. And then plus you can't get people out of the box, Blake, with the passing game. It's rough to get things going on a run basis, especially when you're facing, long third downs all the time. So it's tough.
I mean, look, we're 6 games into the season, right? Like, people know what your offense is at this point, and I think that's kind of the case with Auburn. People have seen enough to understand kind of what the offense is capable of, and understand the limitations of this offense, and we've seen that many times. And I think, again, that's just, I feel like we say the same thing every week, guys, when it comes to Auburn's offense, but I think that's kind of just what it's become. Like, we know what they want to do. We know what they're good at. We know what they're not good at. And I just think that, some of those things, especially against a defense like Ole Miss, which, Chris, we've talked about. It's just, I know that Vandy game was interesting for a lot of reasons, but I just think this is one where, again, the limitations of Auburn's offense, it's just hard for me to find enough probably for them to be able to outscore a team like Ole Miss, or be able to hold a team like Ole Miss down, given what we've seen from them. So,
Yeah, Auburn is scoring 20.3 a game. Ole Miss giving up 14.5. Auburn's thrown 8 interceptions. Ole Miss has made 4. Adjusted for sacks, Auburn is running 4.9 per carry. Ole Miss giving up 4.1. Adjusted for sacks, Auburn 6.3 per pass play. Ole Miss 5.0. Okay, the line is, we're seeing it in some places on Sunday night. Auburn a 16-point road dog. I know Auburn is I think beaten Ole Miss the last couple times in this series, but this one feels different. Over under is 55. The predicted final, according to that, would be 36-20 in Ole Miss's favor. Guys, I'll be honest. I don't know if Auburn could score 20 points. I feel like Ole Miss might even score more than 36. But the under, I kind of like, and I think I like Ole Miss to cover the number too. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they could place the number whatever they wanted to place it at. I'd take Ole Miss to cover it and to win outright. I think at this point, maybe that first, hate to be kind of morbid about it, but right, but they say medically right before somebody dies, like they may get a little bolt of energy, like a jolt of energy. That's kind of, I think Auburn's jolt of energy was that first half against Georgia, and I think it's just going to be all downhill from here the rest of the season for the Tigers. And Ole Miss will have a big day, and I think take care of business. Zach Evans and Jackson Dart, that combination. And now they've got Mingo rolling. And Lane Kiffin always enjoys beating up on SEC West foes when he has the opportunity. He's not one to let off the gas, Blake.
I don't know how to follow that, so I'm just going to say Ole Miss wins. I think Blayne took it as far as you could possibly take it, so I'm just going to say Ole Miss wins the game. So
it's all fun and games till we bring death into it. But all right, we will preview.
Hopefully none of those sponsors anytime soon.
If we're not smitten between now and then, we will be previewing the rest of the SEC games this week. We're previewing every single one this football season. Best way to get them, subscribe to our channel. Thanks to our sponsor, Steaks. Thank you for watching. Remember, we've got a live show Wednesday night. So if anything happens, that will be at 9 Eastern. We'll update you on anything relevant to this game. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.